This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And Doc, as you know, one of our fine sponsors at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network is The Athletic, which is premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. And listeners of this fine episode of Two Bad Hombres this week can get 20% off the first year of an annual subscription to The Athletic by visiting today, theathletic.com/DSP.
I was trying to get it out of here. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up. Head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired.
And we are still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churco, and yeah, we are still not tired, and I am still not with the woman. John Charles Macaroon. John, how are you doing this week?
You like how I almost muted the intro song?
Yeah, I was about to say, what are you doing there? Yeah, it's all right. So we shipped out, luckily, Joey Oster and Jake Hirschman. Now it's just you and I to stare at each other and to talk to one another and to really get to know each other and acquainted with one another once again, John.
You had yourself a fun weekend last weekend, huh? What'd you end up doing? You hung with the fellas? Was it fruitful? Did you get some laughs? Have a good time?
I had some laughs, but no laps. Or no, nothing in my lap, right? In so many words. But, it's fun. I got to bring this up really quick. Now, this is kind of, diverting from that attention. But, okay, so news comes out on Twitter here. Pete Davidson of SNL is dating Ariana Grande now. And already a co-writer from SNL and Weekend Update co-host Colin Jost is dating Scarlett Johansson. So we have these comedians, supposed nerds, are dating hot-looking females.
Whoa.
So should I go into that? Maybe, I like to be funny. I think I'm funny. Maybe I'll be a stand-up comedian, the shortest dude out there doing stand-up comedy. Maybe I end up on SNL. Then can I end up with Ariana Grande or something? Does that equate to that for me then? I mean, I'm hoping so, Doc.
Man, maybe I was selling you a little bit short. I was trying to get you on.
Selling you a little bit short.
Yeah.
You didn't mean it like that, but yeah.
That's fun. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
I was thinking of putting you, sending in a resume for you for Channel 7 since they got an opening as a sports reporter. But I think that SNL, if they're pulling down Scarlett Johansson,
these
Ariana
comedians
Grande,
are.
Wow.
Who are these guys? I mean, legitimately, Pete Davidson is a stoner. I mean, he's a avid stoner, a guy that will come out and tell you that he's a stoner, and he's landing Ariana Grande. So these hot chicks are interested in guys like that from Saturday Night Live? Really? I mean, I guess if you're funny, though, right? If you're funny, can bring the humor to the table, it does do a lot for you. It can land you a chick or two, and I guess it's landing Pete Davidson, Ariana Grande, a woman that I love. I mean, I love her music, too, by the way. I think she has a beautiful voice, and she is a beautiful woman, by the way.
Yes, very much so. And so, yeah, Vito, you look at it and you say, what is a quality? Like I've told you, though, I don't think that you should be surprised. I've told you that one quality that definitely attracts women to men is humor. And if you can make a woman laugh, you could basically talk to anybody. You can get the opportunity to date and meet anybody if you have that opportunity to go out there and maybe, meet someone new and maybe start off your dating career.
And see, my problem, I like how you said, start out my dating career. Oh, great.
Because right now you're on the bench.
I think it sounds so good. I'm on the bench big time. But you know what? My jokes are working with the guys.
Yep.
Too many guys right now, not with enough women. I'll just leave it at that. But my weekend now, you asked me about my weekend, and I started out on this tirade here about Ariana Grande dating Pete Davidson from SNL. Well, anyways, my weekend was good, but I didn't do the bachelor party scene. I did something else where I was busy, like all Saturday with the camp, for somebody. Then I hung out with Brett Karvovich, who has been a guest, right, on Two Bad Hombres, actually, on Tigers Talk way back in the day, actually on episode number 1. Yes, the original episode of Tigers Talk with Churko and company. And he was like the semi-producer, right, to start off, Tigers Talk way back in the day now. And I think in 2015, mid-2015. Anyways, I hung out with him Saturday night, and literally, there was only one woman at this party and like 20 dudes. It was like, really? We are all that lame? Nobody can bring in a woman? It was one guy with his girlfriend, and that was it. She was the only chick there. All dudes. After that. I mean, what is wrong with us? What is wrong with my buddies and I? Well, specifically, Brett and I.
Well, Vito, I told you that I think that what tends to happen is sometimes guys get shy and things like that, and it's sometimes you have to ask and say, hey, is it going to be just a bunch of guys hanging out, or are we going to have some fun or go out or things like that? And
wait, time out. You said, are we going to have some fun?
Yeah, exactly.
You said, is it just going to be a bunch of guys, or are we going to have some fun?
Yeah.
I had fun with my buddies. What do you mean, Doc? Can you specify on that note?
I think there's a certain age range where you can hang out with 5 and 6 guys at a party and do that kind of stuff. And I think as you get older, you recognize, you know what, if you are going out with a bunch of married guys and things like that, then it's okay. But when you start hitting the mid to late 20s, you want to start dating and hanging out where the ratio is 1-to-1. Where if it's going to be 5 guys, there almost has to be
5 chicks then. At least
6 to 8 girls.
Okay, that's
to
fair
make
enough.
it where you're not just hanging with the fellas and things like that. Haven't you gotten over hanging with the fellas?
Let me ask you, so you wouldn't be showing up with your buddies if your buddies were inviting you out? You're a single man. I mean, you have time on the weekends. You don't have any commitments, no kids, no wife. Wouldn't you be going and hanging out with your buddies if they were inviting you out on the weekends?
At almost 40 years old, Doc's over the sausage parties, man.
Well, yes, you are. You're married. I'm saying back in the day, if you were me. Now, put yourself into my shoes, into my position here. I'm 25 almost. Not 25 yet.
Okay.
Have a bunch of guy friends, no girlfriend. Wouldn't you go out with your buddies still, even if there weren't any girls there?
That's the limit, is what I would say. It's about 25 years old. I'm getting tired of that. I want to maybe develop a relationship with the opposite sex and go out and hang out with couples and things like that.
So wait, so next year is my final year of hanging out with my buddies and strictly my buddies. Is what you're saying. So I have one more year of reprieve and then I'm done with you.
Exactly.
With this kind of talk, I guess at least.
Exactly. And so how was the gathering? Was it fun? Did you get some laughs? Did you drink a lot? What'd you do?
Drink enough. I wasn't drunk. I drove home and I wasn't drunk where I would have blown anything. So I made the right decision. I would never. I know how did that sound. How bad did that sound? Really?
That was good.
That was really good. No, but I'm not that guy. I never risk it. Seriously, Doc. I never risk it. Because, we all have buddies, right? They will drive when we know, come on, man. You should not be driving. Not to laugh about it, but it's like, come on. I stay at somebody's place or I get the Uber. I love the Uber, by the way. I use that Uber app so much. I am an Uber whore.
Are you really?
I really am. Have you ever used it, by the way? Or Lyft?
Yeah, Vito, I've used Uber a couple times. Not really long distances, just going from basically the casino to Joe Louis or going from the casino to a different restaurant locally. So basically, I haven't gone more than 10 miles. I did take actually one trip where maybe it was just a couple miles here and there, but I haven't used it extensively, but I do hear reviews and things like that. What's been your review of Uber in terms of taking it? I know it's a lot of foreign drivers. What's it been like in Metro Detroit in terms of taking Uber? Has it been successful for you? Have you, had any interesting drivers or anybody that's their car was kind of a total mess? Or because the part that's interesting is that it's basically consumer to consumer access. You just, hanging out with somebody that's just working, that's an individual citizen working as Uber driver.
A random dude.
A random person.
Or chick. But I've been, I guess, lucky because I've dealt with a lot of nice people. They've been good with me. They haven't been rude. They've driven me to where I wanted to be driven to. And their cars haven't smelled like pot or just stunk up the joint. They have been clean cars, like even some higher end vehicles, and really I could care less what kind of vehicle it is. If I'm drinking, I just want to get to my destination. I really don't care about what this person is all about or what his or her political viewpoints are. Like if they're expressing all that to me, I hope that's not the case. But I can deal with it if I know this person's going to get me from destination A to destination B. Now, really quick, something that I found kind of erroneous with you. You just said that before you have taken an Uber when you've been at the casino and going to a local restaurant, like in Greektown. So those restaurants you walk right, like
no,
yeah, you get an Uber to go.
Yeah, from Motor City to maybe down to the river, Jefferson. From Motor City to the, I think it was from Motor City Casino down to Jefferson, down.
That makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought you meant like from Greektown to the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No walking for Doc.
The big, the Five Guys and Fries.
Exactly.
Right down the block.
Are you calling me lazy?
Yes, I am.
Basically, no. The casino was Motor City Casino.
So that makes more sense.
Yeah,
okay.
See? Exactly. So
all right, now we've cleared the air with that.
Okay, and the funny part of your story was you were telling me prior to this wedding that's about to take place, you really don't wear suits too often. Basically, there's maybe one photo of you in a suit in your entire Facebook profile.
Yes, you have found. Trust me, Doc has found it and has used it.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And so I was thinking to myself, well, Vito, when are you going to transition? And I know you have been periodically now once every 2 weeks when you film your TV show. Why don't you kind of, in terms of your professional outlook, when you go around town, maybe dress for success and become a suit guy? Maybe transition from the T-shirt and shorts or T-shirt and jumpsuit into more of a 24/7 type thing, more of a lifestyle change to become, somebody that dresses for success. Maybe wear a suit and tie to the podcast.
Hey, where's your suit and tie, by the way? Hey, look at me. You just said a tracksuit and track pants, sweatpants. What do I have on today? What do I bring now and wear all the time? I really wear this kind of attire for you, to appease you, to impress you.
Okay.
And you're not impressed, I guess. But I know you're not easily impressed, and that's all right, Doc. I'll let that slide.
I didn't say business casual. I said business, where I'm saying like...
Because this is business casual. What do you describe your attire as, by the way?
I'm the proprietor, so I can dress however I need to dress. I'm saying you're 25 years old, making your way now, looking for that 15-year gig and looking for that opportunity. And I'm saying, you know what? If you want to take that next step and become somebody that's taken seriously, super seriously around town, maybe you got to be, move into that George Clooney model where you just everything is a little bit, ironed, hemmed, nice fitting. Maybe you got to start wearing some $80 button-up shirts and some $200 pants, and maybe you got to start going to debt heavy and dress for success.
And then really end up successful.
No, you don't think so? You don't think the value of becoming a suit guy is worth it for you right now?
Well, the thing is, where am I wearing these suits to? I mean, these jobs that I have right now at the podcast studio, really? To appease you? I mean, I appease you enough, I think, with what I do for the podcast network. So I'm not wearing a suit to over here. No offense to you.
What about, when you're going to the free press or you're going to
I don't really even go into the free press. If I go over an interview, okay, my next big, let me exaggerate with the big or emphasize it. You know what? If it's big, I will wear the suit, but it can't just be a run-of-the-mill. I mean, I'm saying this podcast or anything else is run-of-the-mill that I do or that I've done before, but it would have to be a really gigantic interview for me to wear a suit to, because almost can't you overdress as well for the job interview and then, you get yourself disqualified from the job? Have you heard of that before, where you overdress for a job interview and then when the person looks at you, they're like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he applying for this job?
Yeah, so...
Couldn't it be that as well?
It could be. It could be as well. What has been your reason why you would say you haven't morphed into somebody that wears a suit a lot?
I don't have a job like that. What do you mean I haven't morphed into... Have you ever morphed into a suit guy? You've never had a job like that, right? So why do you have to wear a suit? So you don't. And I give you more power, more credit too. You don't have to wear a suit. So why are you going to... Would you just wear a suit? The clients would probably be like, especially at this point, right? The clients that know you. What would they say to you? If you wore a suit one day... They would think you came from a funeral.
Exactly.
Right? Someone who died. They'd ask, first question, who died?
Well, Vito, I'm in a different position where, like I said, I told you I'm 40 years old. I'm 15 years into my career. I'm saying you're just starting out.
Oh, okay.
So you have to start putting out a reputation of something, right? And obviously you're a good podcaster. You're a good reporter. You're somebody that's around town. But then imagine if you added, wow, Vito Churko, instead of going, okay, yeah, he's a nice cat. He works for the podcast. Imagine if they went, wow, he dresses nice. And he just shows up and you could be the best dressed human in Michigan.
Well, I want to aim for that.
Why not?
Where's the money coming from that?
Oh, see, that's the whole point is I think you millennials always think, well, okay, if I do this, what is going to come back of me? I'm saying your reputation is very valuable and people like people that are around that are successful. And I think that if you wore a suit all the time, maybe, just maybe, if you wore a suit for a year here, I might be inclined to maybe even make 10 times as many phone calls as I make for the podcast and maybe get you some more money.
To give me a raise.
Yeah.
Finally pay me something of significance. That would be nice for the first time in my podcast network history.
I could get you up to at least minimum wage.
Oh, great. Would love for that to happen. Let me wear a suit now. So let me buy an expensive, super expensive suit just to start making money.
Yep.
Wow. Is that your pitch to people, by the way, to get them to start working here at the podcast network?
It's the age-old notion of, hey, you got to spend money to make money. And I think...
spend money that benefits me to make yourself some money, a little bit of money, which is really just side cash. But anyways.
For me, I'm not a suit guy. So
no, I know you're not. And I'm not really either, but I would like to be more and more. I think it would look sexy on me. I think this suit, when I wear it on the wedding, June 9th, on my birthday is June 9th, and this wedding's taking place on June 9th for a friend that I went to Detroit Mercy with. I think you're going to love this suit and this attire, this get-up for me. You're going to be like totally appeased and totally shocked and be like, who is this sexy man in this suit? It can't be Vito. You're going to be saying that to yourself when you see the picture of me in this suit. I'm telling you right now.
Wow, okay.
I think it looks really good. I can't wait to don it.
Okay, no.
The Don Vito can't wait to don it.
All kidding aside, you're looking forward to the wedding. You have a good time. When is it?
I am, June 9th, so after Memorial Day. I guess we have Memorial Day weekend this weekend, right? It's Memorial Day weekend, which is something how quickly it's come this year, and the weather has been gloomy of late. We've had some nice, summer-esque days still, sprinkled in there, but not enough. A really good weather, huh?
Yeah, it's been a nice transition from the winter that we had into this weather. It's been nice to have opportunities to go outside, sit on the porch, and sit on the patio outside and have a good time with it. But very good stuff, Vito. I hope that one day you do become a suit guy and you become a CEO, and we can have a cup of tea one day, and you're wearing a suit and your big mahogany table, and you have a bunch of degrees, and maybe you pen some books. Maybe you pen some really world-class Pulitzer Prize-winning articles or investigations and things like that. All right, let's transition to some talk regarding the University of Michigan. They've been in the news a lot in the last 7 days, starting with Charles Woodson kind of saying and revealing to the media that he believes that the University of Michigan and its athletes do not take the Ohio State game seriously enough. And he harkens back to a time when he played at Michigan. That was it. He said, look, we would not care about winning any other game, but focusing intently on Ohio State. And if we lost every game but defeated Ohio State, then it was a good year. And he kind of came out and said that. And we'll talk about that. I want to get your take on Charles Woodson. I want to get your take on the fact that Michigan has been in the news regarding now their next trip has been announced.
Yeah.
Next year, they're going to South Africa. People are going, you know what? Just show it on the field. Let's have the opportunity to book a trip to Indianapolis, and we'll all be happy, instead of the program going each and every offseason to a faraway place. And I think a lot of people are kind of saying, in terms of that, falling on deaf ears. They don't really care as much. But, according to some newspaper guys, it's getting huge web clicks. It's getting huge attention. That's why there's so much coverage of it. But I do believe that there's a certain segment that want Michigan to have more success on the field. And then I want to finish with your thought on the first line that came out from a sports book in Las Vegas. But let's start with Charles Woodson. It was interesting from my perspective in that I had the opportunity to have Karan Higdon on the one-on-one feature podcast, which airs periodically here on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. And I had the opportunity to ask him about the Ohio State game and to get his perspective on it. And he said, early on he was not aware of the intensity of the rivalry as a freshman, but soon enough he picked up on it and he talked about it. And he said, look, it's a game that we definitely talk about. And if you guys recall, listening to this, Michigan was in that game. They were up 14-0. And he talked about it in that once they got up 14-0, they didn't capitalize on a couple more mistakes that were made. And when Michigan made mistakes, Ohio State was just really able to capitalize on it. So I totally disagree with Charles Woodson. I think that it's grandstanding. It's a way for him to keep his name in the news. And a guy like that, you understand, has to kind of keep his name relevant here and there. So on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, people understand that, look, Charles Woodson is an esteemed Michigan guy, and he wants to come out and he wants to restore. He wants to put in his 2 cents in trying to restore the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. Because if you remember now, if you look at the scoreboard, it's been almost, 14 games. I think Michigan's won 1. So you look at it and you go, it's really tilted in the favor of Ohio State. And so Charles Woodson, as a prideful Michigan man, he wants to kind of, tell everybody and put everybody on notice. Look, I'm going to guarantee a victory. I'm going to go out there in a commencement speech and I'm going to say that Michigan can defeat Ohio State. So he is, obviously responding based on ego as opposed to rational facts. Because here's the problem. Ohio State's a juggernaut. Urban Meyer is a nationally prominent top 5 coach in the entire country, maybe even top 2 in the entire world. And Michigan wants to believe that they're in that category, but they're not. And they're working towards it. And the symbol of that hope is Jim Harbaugh. Now, will it come to fruition? You're going to have this next 4-year stretch of players come in and starting to win some games against Ohio State. But going into it, if you're Charles Woodson, I think the better argument, the better thing to say is the game versus Ohio State, super important. I'm hoping that the progress can continue with great recruits, with a great quarterback, with a great system, so that we can tilt the rivalry back in our favor. That's all you got to say. But by doing this, I really feel like he did Michigan a disservice.
Yeah.
He made this a big problem now for Jim Harbaugh because it's a big year for them. It's a big year for Michigan. By coming out and saying this, I think it was wrong. I think he should. I think Michigan athletes should kind of speak a little bit less on Ohio State and just focus in on, look, you know what? Let's just circle September 1st and pray to God we walk out of South Bend with a win.
Yeah, you better win that game to start off the year. Under the lights, tough opponent at Notre Dame, so let's try and win that game in South Bend first and foremost. And you know what? Ohio State has owned Michigan under Harbaugh, before Harbaugh, with Brady Hoke, the Rich Rod, with Lloyd Carr. No U of M headman has really had success with Ohio State in recent memory for the last decade plus. So let's not speak about Ohio State, because truly Ohio State and U of M really isn't a great rivalry, because it's one-sided. Where's the rivalry? Doesn't the other side have to win too? Michigan here and there? Maybe not all the time. But when the other side is winning all the time, Ohio State, guess what that means? U of M, Ohio State really aren't on the same playing field. Sad but true for Harbaugh going into year number 4. He still hasn't beaten Ohio State and has only beaten his rival in East Lansing once. And in a season in which MSU was hugely down. So for Charles Woodson, now backtracking to why he said these comments during his commencement speech, and as well, and maybe this or that after that, well, guess what? He's gaining attention for himself. And he probably said it during the commencement speech guaranteeing a W, because it was a form of hyperbole. We should view it as that. He's going to say that. He might have said that, Doc, and everybody out there without even truly believing it. He might think Ohio State is still the behemoth that Ohio State really has been in recent memory, and is a team that's going to topple U of M once again for a fourth straight year under Harbaugh. And for, how many years now? The last decade plus has Ohio State owned U of M. Charles Woodson might believe that himself. I think he just said it for the sake of gaining attention for himself, because guess what? He's in the media now, and he knows how the clicks will happen, how traction will be gained for himself by making such asinine comments. Stupid comments, really, because nobody should be guaranteeing that U of M is going to beat Ohio State at this point. Not at all. It's not like U of M has even come close to owning Ohio State. Ohio State has owned U of M in recent memory. And even if you were the team owning the other side, like Ohio State, which has owned U of M once again in recent memory for the last decade plus, guess what? Nobody from Ohio State, probably no alum of theirs that is smart at least, and more media savvy, even though Charles Woodson is on Sunday NFL Countdown on ESPN right now, an Ohio State alum, an OSU alum that is more media savvy probably would not have made those comments, even when trying to rile up the crowd during a commencement speech, which I get you want to really gravitate towards your audience and draw them in. And by saying those comments, you're going to draw in the masses there during a University of Michigan commencement speech. But think a little bit, too, before you speak. As I've said before, I have harped on this before regarding athletes and others. Before you tweet or before you speak, think. Think about the impact it will have. And this could have been a huge disservice to Michigan, as you already noted, Doc.
So, speaking of disservice, do you feel like the hype surrounding Michigan and all these trips that they've taken overseas has kind of overshadowed what is really most important to a lot of people, which is winning on the football field during the fall? Because here's the thing, I understand why Jim Harbaugh is doing it. It's team building. It's an opportunity to go beyond the university and to learn and bond and take trips. And here's the thing. The way that this has been paid for has been through donations. So if you can get somebody to drop, two people to drop $400K each, and the trip costs $800K, and it's donor funded, and you have an opportunity to take a bunch of young kids and show them, Rome, show them Paris, show them the world, and we are all sitting here going, well, we should pay these athletes, we should give them more. Jim Harbaugh is sitting back going, look, I'm providing the opportunity for people that come to this university to have trips and to go out and bond and to see a bunch of different things. I think the thing that really bonded the team this year was I think they all went to Normandy and saw some very historical type things in regards to previous wars. And several of the media that reported on it said that it was, awe-inspiring to go back to a time where others could relate to, some historical times and things like that. It really brought home dedication and working in the country and stuff like that. So I understand that part of it. But the problem is, though, it's covered like it's, dignitaries. It's like the Pope is going to Rome or the Pope is going to Paris and things like that. I just think that, if you want to do it, fine. But all the media coverage about it, a little bit overhyped. And I do think that the emphasis should be on, this is the fourth year of my program. I got to make it happen. I got to make sure that September 1st, 2018, we go out there and try to absolutely destroy Notre Dame, because when the first lines came out, Michigan is a 7-point underdog on the road to Notre Dame, and people are really going back and forth on our Twitter page saying, well, they deserve to be an underdog. They haven't really done well against top-ranked programs. Others are saying, are you kidding me? That's easy money. I'm going to take Michigan +7 all day because of the fact that, like annually, Notre Dame has several players that are suspended. And I look at it and I go, man, 7-point underdog. It's a little bit big, I think, in my opinion. Sitting here today, I would take Michigan +7. I think it'll be a good contest. There's an opportunity with Shea Patterson to do some things, but I think the line will get a lot smaller as we get closer to September. But to summarize, I think the trips are overhyped, and maybe just, I know that Michigan announced that they're going to go to South Africa next year. I would say that, why not just do it every other year? Just, have one off season where you can make it about the team as opposed to a massive trip.
Honestly, I don't mind it. But from a PR viewpoint, when they're taking these trips and they're not winning enough football games, going 8-5 and losing in the Outback Bowl to South Carolina last year, finishing in that fashion, guess what? PR-wise, it's going to look shoddy for your program and for Jim Harbaugh specifically being willing to take his team on these trips. But they are culturally impactful. They have been culturally significant to the players that have been a part of this program for the last, 3 years since they started taking these trips, going to be a third year taking the trip next year. Jim Harbaugh's fourth year this season at U of M as head man. So, you went to Rome, you went to Paris this year, going to take a trip to South Africa with your players next year. I'm envious of those players and the opportunities they have gotten, the experiences they have garnered through these trips overseas to many different lovely destinations and locations that I haven't been to myself yet at the tender age of 25. But others that are much older than me, including yourself, you're like 50 or something. I can tell by the lack of hair on your head, but all joking aside, others like yourself, right? You haven't been to Italy, I don't believe. Nope. You haven't been to Paris. You haven't been to South Africa. South Africa, really? You're going to go? These are great destinations, and once again, culturally significant and impactful to the players experiencing these trips. And there's so much to view and to see, and you know what? Also, when you look at the money spent, because people have talked about, Jim Harbaugh finally opened up about the donors that really allowed for this recent trip to Paris to happen. Well, guess what? It's their money. These donors have a lot of money, millions, maybe billions of dollars. So do I really care about them spending their money on these kids for this football program when maybe it could go to something else at U of M? Guess what? I really don't care, because you know what? It's not my money. It's not coming out of my pocketbook. It's not even coming close to coming out of my pocketbook, because I don't even have anything close to $100 now. I have $100 in my account, I think. Let me check. But, these guys have a lot of money. They can do what they want with their money, is my point. And, it's not a charitable cause. Maybe it could go to the medical program at U of M, to the U of M hospital or whatever. You know what? Maybe it would be more beneficial in that respect if it went to those individuals. But guess what? These donors have the right to give the money to whomever they desire. And they're, obviously by the looks of it, they are big football fans, U of M football fans. And guess what? They are impacting somebody. They are impacting these players, because they are going through potentially life-changing moments and experiences, at least, by taking these trips. As of last year to Rome, this year to Paris, and next year, presumably, by all accounts now, to South Africa, Doc.
Okay, so if you were a betting man, you got $100, would you bet Notre Dame -7 or Michigan +7?
No, I would take U of M in that bet. I would take Michigan, because I think Michigan's a better team. Now, we're biased. I am, at least. You're the MSU Sparty, slappy. So you're not going to pick U of M, right? On the road, a tough place to open up at. But Michigan on paper, I believe, is expected to be better than Notre Dame this season. Michigan is a team that will definitely finish in the top 25, should finish in the top 12 to top 15. And a lot of people are expecting, hugely national prominence. A Final Four run. They are expecting U of M to reach the Final Four, to reach Indianapolis, at least, right, to the Big Ten championship game. Let's start with that. Let's see that out of Harbaugh in year number 4. And that's why I know you've had a lot of dismayers, naysayers about U of M taking these trips overseas to these different locations that none of us have ever been to ourselves. But you know what? I kind of see what they're talking about. I really do also advocate for the fact that U of M better get its shit together, better get its act together, and start winning football games more consistently. But also, at the end of the day, I also see the other side of things. And that's why I don't really have a problem, really don't, with these donors giving all this money to the Michigan football program to take these luxurious trips to these different locales overseas.
Okay, Vito. So you would take Michigan +7.
I would.
Take the money and make some money and bet Michigan. Bet your team, huh?
And I think really quick here, I think Michigan now is being projected to allow nearly 30 points to Notre Dame, and this has been a great U of M defense, including last season. You wouldn't expect U of M, I don't think you should expect the University of Michigan football team this season to allow that many points to Notre Dame, even in the first game on the road at ND.
Okay, Vito, how confident are you that Michigan can have a successful season? Karan Higdon definitely sold it. He said that he's trying to set his goals really high, maybe even talk of Heisman, trying to get drafted in the first round, really capitalizing on the season that he had. So I got to ask you, did you support the cause? Did you push play and download the one-on-one interview with Karan as you were driving back? Or, it's been a good solid week since the recording. Have you listened to it?
Actually, I saw that it was your interview with Karan, and then I threw my phone against the wall and broke my phone.
Okay.
No, I pressed play once. If Karan is, happy with what happened between you and him and the interview that you conducted as part of your one-on-one series, the return of the one-on-one series, it had been a very long time. You had a long absence, right? From this interview with Karan to your one before that. Who did you even interview before Karan Higdon as part of the one-on-one series? Because I don't remember the name, honestly.
It was Alyanka Larionov.
She was the last one. That was how long ago already, too?
It was about 3-4 months.
Yeah, it's been a while. So you were due for another one. It was a big one to land. Karan Higdon, senior running back for Michigan this season. And that backfield of U of M, I think you can trust in. Led by Karan as a senior, Chris Evans, others, Kareem Walker. These guys are full of talent. The backfield as a whole is full of talent. So you would think with that, those running backs assembled, and the quarterback now, under center, supposedly going to be Shea Patterson to start the season too. Well, with him, the running backs, the wide receivers, and improved O-line, that offense as a whole should be more cohesive, should be more functioning as a high-functioning offense, clicking on all cylinders, and it should allow U of M to have a much better season than last year. That's what I'm saying right now as an unbiased Michigan fan. Now, how about you? Because you're not biased at all because you don't like U of M. What do you think about Michigan? Honestly here, Doc.
I don't know, because it can go either way. Shea Patterson can come in and really take to that offense, and it could be magic. But objectively, being that I'm just kind of going off of my gut instincts, I see another 4-loss season.
Really?
I do see that Michigan State, Ohio State, combination of Penn State, Wisconsin, that's a brutal schedule. And then I see that they're going to probably get 8 to 9 wins. I do think that right now the Big Ten is solid, and at the very least, if I want to bump it up a little bit, I could go 3 losses. Michigan State, Ohio State, and either Penn State or Wisconsin.
Well, to pull a Lee Corso here from College Game Day, not so fast, my friend.
Okay.
Michigan, I'm going to guarantee something. Now, I just kind of made fun of Charles Woodson for guaranteeing what he did during that commencement speech, that U of M would beat Ohio State this season. Finally, first time under Harbaugh. I'm going to say this. He beats Harbaugh and U of M. They beat Michigan State this season. I will guarantee that, guaranteed it. Take it to the bank right now on Two Bad Hombres.
Okay, Vito. I definitely respect your bravado, and we got it on tape. We'll dial it up, and we'll see how it plays out. But it's going to be a fun time for Jim Harbaugh and that Michigan program. I enjoyed the talk. All right, Vito, let's take a timeout. Let's definitely give some sponsor messages, and we'll come back in the second half of the podcast. We got to definitely address the thing that went down with Kendrick Lamar, and a prominent politician signs on with Netflix. Stay tuned. You're listening to Two Bad Hombres. All right, Vito, I want to tell you about our host site, Podomatic.com. When Adam and I first started this project, we were looking for a great place to host all of our recorded audio. And thank goodness we found Podomatic. At this point in time, we've recorded about 950 podcasts weekly, and we've only used one host site. Why do we use Podomatic? Super quick, easy to use. I mean, you are even able to upload podcasts.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly. And so we've grown to the level of success where in 1 week, one simple week of this network, we had Adam Carolla over the phone and Karan Higdon from Michigan in studio. And that's because of the fact that when we send them the links, boom, right away they can download it, listen to it, enjoy it. If you're looking to grow and start a brand new project, you want to get into the podcasting game, then all the hosts here on the network, we're going to recommend one host site and one host site alone, Podomatic.com. All right, everybody, thank you so much for sticking with us and supporting the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. The support has been awesome. Website hits, downloads, interaction, bigger name guests. I mean, it was nice to hear. I know you probably didn't think that you didn't think anything of it when Joey Yashinsky, friend of the podcast, messaged and said, "Oh, you guys got Adam Carolla. You're moving up in the world." A little part of me was like, well, he has been on before.
And then I took accountability for it. I said, I booked him myself.
Exactly.
Joey, no way, Jose, because John did do that. You've had him on twice now, which is really, really impressive, too.
And when Karan walked in, his eyes lit up. I was actually surprised by his reaction. The first 2 minutes of the podcast, he's like, wow, I thought something totally different from what I thought was going to happen. He's like, you guys got sponsors on the wall, all the belts, all the photos, the newspapers. He listened to the audio, and he's like, I can hear myself. He was really thrilled and excited me. It was awesome in that he was genuinely happy to be here. He was candid. It was fun. The hour flew by, and it was an opportunity to get some insight into a major national athlete that could potentially do some things. I potentially could have interviewed the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, good luck with that. That's not happening. And I like U of M a lot. Sorry, Karan. Not going to happen. But really quick, so Karan thought he was probably going to be recording something in your mother's basement.
Maybe.
You're going to be this 40-year-old bald dude in your mother's basement. Mom, can I get some chicken? I get some spaghetti, yelling up to your mom, and then you're recording with them in your mom's basement. He might have thought that.
No. When you think about it, I would assume maybe he thought that it might be a simpler room. Maybe a couple chairs where he just sits down across from a reporter, and he's just got to sit there and just answer questions. and maybe he didn't think of, oh, it's basically a podcast studio setup. You know what I mean? He maybe thought maybe it was going to be a little bit more formal or along the lines of a simpler setup.
Or you might be wearing a suit or something.
Or I might just have a packet with a backpack with t-shirt on and with a microphone that I hold far away from him and be like asking questions.
You took a dig at me.
Like some
from the Motor
people,
City Comic-Con.
like some people
last
that do,
year, right?
like some people that do interviews on the network.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
No, that's
Anyways,
good.
yeah, really good.
That was good, right?
Yeah, how are you doing?
It was good, and it was nice to see someone be surprised, and it was fun. It was actually fun to actually have somebody be excited, and as part of the network, it's a great deal, and things are going fun. It's fun. It's fun to record with you every week, have some laughs and things like that. So it's all good.
That's good to hear. Now, how about Kendrick Lamar? What did he say? What happened? You know all about it. Tell us, Doc.
Okay, so here's what happened, and it's kind of really a simple story, but one that can go off into a lot of different directions. So Kendrick Lamar is a world-class artist, a musician, somebody that a lot of people respect, and they go out and they support him via his records, via his concerts, and things like that. So he's performing, right? And he decides, okay, I'm going to call somebody up from the crowd onto the stage. He selects this white woman from the crowd, and she comes up on stage, and she's really excited. And she says, I know the words to your song. And he made sure. And he's like, okay, here we go. And she starts singing along with him in terms of a song that he was performing. Well, one of the songs that she was singing along with Kendrick had the N-word in it. And she just said it full on, like in the song. And all of a sudden, Kendrick's tone changed, and the crowd's tone changed, and they were booing her. He called her out. And, he called her out and basically scolded her and said, look, hey, you can't be saying that kind of stuff and things like that. But in the end, he tried to, calm the situation down and have her keep going. But obviously the woman was embarrassed. The crowd was booing. It was an awkward kind of scene at that moment. And so the reaction afterward has been a little bit lukewarm in his direction, saying that, look, why would you treat your fan like that? This is your song. But on the other side, those that were in support of Kendrick and the crowd say, look, under no circumstance, here's the rule. And you know it, and I know that we don't speak it. The rule is, and it's been clearly stated now by Ice Cube, by several prominent African-American figures, here's the rule, whether you agree with it or not. The rule is white people cannot say the N-word. Period. In any context, whether it be the A at the end or the ER or any form of it, it should just be removed from white people's vocabulary. Only one group of people is allowed in any form to address that word, and it's not this lady that went on stage. And the other side says, well, no, this is somebody that wrote this, this is somebody that's a fan of the artist. She was invited up on stage, and she's just going along. It wasn't meant to be derogatory. She was singing the song. And why is everybody so butthurt about it? And that's the way I look at it. It's like, you got to look at time and place and context. She wasn't insulting anybody. She was excited. And imagine a common person's up on stage trying to remember all the words to a song, and the performer, somebody you admire, is right there next to you, and you're performing in front of maybe 10 to 15,000 people. You're not thinking about that. You're just going boom. But going forward, I think this is something that others have to take note of, is that the general rule of thumb, to be on the safe side, if you want to be ultra conservative and ultra safe, if you're a white person, don't say the N-word in any context.
Why would you say it anyways? I love Kendrick Lamar. I actually do. I listen to his music. I know you don't. I listen to his music.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
I will never say it. When the N-word comes up, I don't say it. So if you were looking for that, I was going to, there we go. I cleared it up because I don't say it. So if I was on that stage, now you just said it, you're in the moment. She was in the moment and she just let it out. She blurted it out, which would be very embarrassing, by the way, for this lady.
Yeah.
But it's wrong. Okay, it's still wrong because guess what? I would still have the common sense, even if I'm up on the stage with Kendrick Lamar, guess what I would be doing when the N-word part of the song comes up? I'm not saying it. I'm saying something else, or I'm not saying anything at all. I'm not going to blurt it out and go along with that as part of the song, even though it is a part of the song, because I know it's not for me to say. I don't say it when I'm singing along with Kendrick Lamar, rapping his lyrics in my car, driving home, or driving to this place or that place, or wherever I'm at, and I'm listening into his music. I'm not repeating that word, though. It's not right to say it for a Caucasian male like myself, Caucasian female, anybody that is not that is not African American. If you're not, you cannot get away with it. You cannot say it, and you should not be uttering the word. So I am totally on board with her being in the wrong. I think she was erroneous, and it was wrong of her to blurt it out and use the N-word. Because she should not have done that. But I think you're going to get into it. But I think Kendrick Lamar kind of set her up to be exposed. don't you think? I know you kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit too. I think he kind of exposed her and did it on purpose too.
Exactly. And so here's what I'm reading from Variety.com. Here's the article. Kendrick Lamar's onstage outrage, why rap should retire the N-word for good. The author writes, is it really fair to have one set of rules for black people and another set of white fans have a different set of rules? And so the question has to be asked is, if black people say it, why can't white people? Because the way that white people sometimes interpret it is like, look, you guys took that word and morphed it into a different word and you use it to greet each other and you use it quite a bit often. Why is it that we can't use it as well? But that's the rule. That's just the way it is. That's been the way that African Americans have taken to owning this word, is to say, look, this is a derogatory word that has hurt generations, and so we've taken it and morphed it into something that we own and nobody else can. But in terms of the response, here's the thought from the article from Variety.com. It says, the response has been mixed. Some have accused the young girl of being insensitive and foolishly failing to understand the potential ramifications of a white person using the N-word. Meanwhile, others have wondered why Lamar didn't use a more lyrically neutral song for the rap-along while branding him a hypocrite for practicing what he preaches against. And the author writes, I believe both sides have valid points. As I try to explain whenever white people challenge me on the black use of the N-word, particularly in the rap and hip-hop community, it's all about context. It's like the difference between a man using the B word against a woman and another woman doing the same. And so it's the debate rages on. It's one of those things where people still talk about it that are in defense of saying, hey, white people should just be able to use it. It's no big deal. But I think we've clearly established that you and I have never used that word in any context anywhere. But we've never been called up on stage where an artist that we know has used it and we're singing along.
Well, I almost would laugh if you if you slipped up and said it.
Okay.
At the spur of the moment, do you think you would say it? But if you've never used it before, if it's not in your vocab, your daily vocab, you're not going to say it. It's like those that don't swear. They're not going to swear on air. You know what I mean? When they're live on TV.
You're obviously opposed to Kendrick's reaction to it on stage.
I am, though.
What do you think about the fans who
yes.
booed and were upset right away when they heard it?
I was going to say they're hypocritical because there's some of those white males and females in that crowd that, guess what, are dropping the N-bomb. And then they're like, oh, this lady said it. You're saying it too. It's hypocritical of them. Because come on. Every single white person in that crowd, because there's white people in that crowd, guess what? Are they all saying something else or not using the N-word when it comes up in the song? No, guess what? They're letting it blurt out too.
In the grand scheme of things with this story, it's very fascinating in that what Kendrick did and how he reacted was appropriate in terms of, maybe his personal thought. But here's the thing. This is a fan. This is a customer of yours. And so what you could have done is been like, hey, you know what? Make it easy for her. Don't pick a song where you got the N-word in it. Come on.
It's like he set her up.
Yeah. It's unfortunate in that you potentially probably lost a fan. And you
didn't care about losing a fan? Come on. Check out his Twitter handle. I wonder how many followers he has. He's not worried about losing one follower or one fan.
I know, but at the same time, when you start doing that, then others that support this young lady, it might get out, and it could be a situation in which it gets bigger in terms of if you alienated her, if this video gets out, or if it really clearly shows that, he sings, a lot of songs with the N-word, and it's played up this way, he might lose a bunch of support, maybe some sponsors, because of the fact that you don't treat customers that way, especially when the fans are the ones that make you, and the fans are the ones that come out and support you via the concert platform. So I wouldn't treat nobody like that. That was a paying customer. I just would be like, hey, oops, sorry, my bad. I would have, if I was Kendrick, I would have taken the heat myself. I'd be like, oh, my bad. I should have did a different song, and just say, you know what, we're not gonna do that again, and just go to a different song that it's clean. Or just, when that part comes up, just take the mic away from her and boom, keep it going.
Yeah. It's like you're wrestling the mic away. Give me that mic. It's like you would make a bigger scene that way, but she's into it, man.
No,
how easy would it be to get the mic out of her hand?
No, or you're holding it next to her.
Like you knock out the chick. He knocks out the chick.
No, when she's doing the song with you, you hold it in front of her for a couple parts.
And then you move it.
One mic. One mic.
Oh, that just alleviates or eliminates the issue, doesn't it, completely?
Exactly. One mic.
But you could still pick her up.
Vito,
ambient sound.
We
know that ambient sound. You made fun of me for if it's far away. So if it's far away, you still pick up something.
Vito,
they still hear it, right?
Maybe.
It's like, you're right here, she's right. Right? I mean...
But he should say it loudly into the microphone.
Is it so bad?
Right? He should be like, at that point, right? He holds it down.
Drop it loudly.
And nobody would care. So it's one of those things where we know the rule.
You can't win, really.
Kendrick, unfortunately, major violation. Two Bad Hombres. We definitely don't support it. But if you're a white person, just avoid all the problems. Just don't say it, and life is good.
Yeah, really.
Right? I've never had any
She should have
problems.
known better, too. She should have, at the end of the day.
Exactly. The thinking is that, look, that's the clearly established request.
Yeah.
We can honor it. But Kendrick, I think in that situation, when you have maybe an outlying situation, should not have allowed this girl to feel upset and that kind of situation. Because it can hurt someone's feelings when 15,000 people are booing you when you're expressing love and passion for an artist that you love. It can be demoralizing. Like, oh,
It
man.
can be, yeah.
It can be. All right. Final topic of this week's Two Bad Hombres. I wanted to get your sense of it. On Netflix, obviously a company now that is blowing up all over the place. Great shows, huge budgets. I mean, we're talking about comic releases every single week. You're seeing shows that are costing a bunch of money. Everybody that's a content producer has said, look, Netflix is awesome. They give us money. They give us the direction of kind of a timetable of when to turn in the show, and they let us go. They let us produce, and everything is great. And Netflix has been an amazing outlet. I love it. I've been a subscriber now to Netflix for a good 3-4 years now, and I love it. I still do the DVDs. I do the streaming, and I was, obviously kicking myself going, man, I should have invested in Netflix. If I would have just been basic and invested in Netflix and the World Wrestling Entertainment, I probably could have tripled the money that I invested just on those two companies alone. But granted, we don't want to talk about my financial situation. I want to know what your reaction is, though, because now potentially they could go into the political realm and cause a little bit of a stir in that. They have Netflix features documentaries of all kinds, so I don't see them as being politically leaning in any way. They got documentaries from the right side, from the left side, from some unusual cats, so I don't sense any leaning tendencies. But former President Barack Obama has started a production company, and he's now going to work with Netflix. He's going to produce content with himself involved, and he's going to produce other content. And I go, ooh, that would be something to have a meeting about in terms of the fact that you got a built-in audience, no problem. You're going to have at least 40% of the country going, okay, we want to know what's going on in Obama's life. We want to know what kind of content Barack Obama and Michelle can bring to the table with their company in terms of maybe movies, documentaries, information, specials, whatever it may be. It might be Barack Obama doing interviews. It might be a bunch of different things. But when you do that, you have a built-in audience. But at what price, at what expense of those that oppose Barack Obama? And so that's the question, is that right away, when I saw the news, you know how I saw the news that he signed? It was a tweet from somebody that said, I'm cutting off Netflix.
Probably from the right, a Republican.
Yes. And the response was, that's how I found out about the news. It wasn't in the, Yahoo. It wasn't in the Google. It was, I saw a tweet that said, I'm cutting off Netflix. I'm done. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't go that far.
That's
I'd wait and
the
see.
thing.
I'd wait and see.
Yeah.
And my opinion would be wait and see. But it would be something where if you brought that to the table and said, hey, you know what? I want Barack Obama to do a weekly podcast. I'd be like, Vito. And you brought it to the table. I'm like, look, I would love that. I think Barack should definitely be on our platform. But
You would turn down Barack Obama, though, really? Are you trying to say that right now?
No, you know what I would like, genuinely?
Uh-huh.
If it could be something outlandish and a dream podcast,
Yes.
it would be Barack Obama on one end of this table and then Bill O'Reilly on the other.
I want
and let
Donald
him-
Trump.
Oh,
my God.
Well,
Can you imagine that?
No,
The
that-
clicks we would get, though, for that?
Donald
And I
Trump-
don't like the guy,
yeah.
Donald Trump, but the clicks
No.
we could get for that?
Donald Trump would make it entertainment. And
Yeah.
but in terms of just purely dialogue,
Okay.
fair and balanced, I'd want Barack Obama on the left and Bill O'Reilly on the right, and let's talk, have it out, and have civil discourse for an hour every single week. Fair and balanced on the show. That's the definition of fair and balanced. I don't want to hear from Barack one week and then Bill the next week. I want to see them both together, and you have a topic and go, okay, gun control, go. And they talk about it. And you have, Planned Parenthood, go. And they both they're both sides. They have their debates, and they can maybe take calls and things like that. But that's what real fair and balanced is. Like we do. You're obviously wrong all the time, and I present you the light in terms of doing things the right way, and you still debate me.
And it's obviously the opposite all the time. Yes.
I'm like, Vito, dress for success. You're like, no.
I'm doing the opposite. Clear cut. But I would like, I don't like Donald Trump as a president. It's already been made clear. But I would like something done on him on Netflix more than Obama. Because Donald Trump, once he's impeached, I want to see about his story and what's happening to him. Once he's in jail, what the guys are doing to him. Is there anything going on? What's happened to Trump since? But seriously, kind of all joking aside, I would rather see a documentary made about Trump after he's done as president than a documentary. Now, it's not about a documentary. I know that. He's just his production team and whatnot. He started a production team, and he's making some stuff now through Netflix. Well, I would rather see something just kind of off the map a little bit here on Donald Trump done more than something done on Barack Obama. As in a documentary. That's what I'm talking about here specifically.
Real quickly before we get back to Obama.
Yes.
In terms of your taxes, obviously, I know that you're a paying individual now.
I am,
into the system.
unfortunately.
Would you say that your finances, at least from 2018, are better than they were in 2017 and 2016?
No, they're really even, honestly. It was like the same amount that I paid. So I really can't say that he's benefited me or hurt me in that regard.
Net even. Net equal.
Net even, I guess.
Okay, net
but
equal.
I've told you about other stuff, so we're not going to dive into that.
Yeah.
But
Would you say that services maybe around Michigan are getting better with the roads getting, fixed up again and services in terms of...
Finally, but how long did it take? And is that really Trump? Are we going to benefit Trump on that?
I would give him credit for it.
Really?
I'd give
our infrastructure here in Michigan, our roads,
a Republican governor.
is a leader, the governor, Rick Snyder.
Yep.
Okay, but I'm talking about Trump.
I'm talking about overall in terms of your
That's
situation.
about how long did he wait until the roads were improved? There's also that part of the conversation, right? A little bit. I think that has to be mentioned at least.
Okay, and asking about you might be a little challenging, but for me, all I can say is my situation has improved, and I have not...
Well, good for you.
Yes,
and I hope it has for people.
Yes, and I have not paid attention to the social side of things. Like even the news of the last week, I say to myself, what do I need to put my efforts in? And I need to continue with getting big guests for the network, growing the practice, spending time with the family, and just being hyper-focused on maybe 3 or 4 things. I'm happy. I'm very satisfied, and I found a path and a way to get through 16 hours a day when I'm awake of being satisfied and living life. And so that's what I'm doing. And so if you told me, and probably I should ask, what has Trump been doing that's rallying everybody up? I think he's...
he's a liar.
I think I heard, and what I've peeked into, is that along the way he maybe was discussing illegal immigrants, calling them animals and things like that.
Recently, correct, that has happened, which is erroneous and unethical and all the above,
but
really.
the other
it's
side,
not good.
The other side presented, I do think I saw, he was not talking about all illegal immigrants. He was talking about those that are criminally minded in terms of what the other side, I think, saw and presented on their platform. But I have not kept up to date. And then, obviously... There's talk now about Mueller and his investigation and where it's going.
Robert Mueller, yeah.
Where it's going and how it's progressing and things like that. And then you got
he calls it all a witch hunt, though. Come on, man. It's not a witch hunt.
And then you got the other thing with Korea and North Korea, if they're going to pull out of this meeting coming up, if it's actually going to happen and things like that. But the other side I saw that was positive was they said that he negotiated a pretty much a better trade deal with China that got some money back in terms of, I think it said $380 billion in our favor. So.
Cool. Well, he's also a sexual harasser, multiple accusers.
That's happening still?
He's still semi-racist, at least a little bit, if not completely a racist. And I'm just kind of being nice here by calling him a semi-racist. There's a lot of stuff out there about Donald Trump. There's a big book, multiple books that could be written, plays, documentaries that could be done about Donald Trump. And that's why, in the grand scheme of things, I would like to see a documentary made about Donald Trump and this presidency. Who wouldn't love to see that? Like, I liked Obama more, obviously. But the thing is, a documentary on Obama, what's going to be more interesting? I can even agree it's going to be on Donald Trump. I would love to see that done at some point. How about you? What would be more intriguing to you? A documentary made about Barack Obama or Donald Trump?
No, I think both. I'm a documentary fiend. I love every kind.
Well, I would watch both probably.
Right.
I'm saying I think Donald Trump would be more interesting to watch because we know there was some crap that happened in that White House, under his leadership.
Right. So,
we know that much for sure.
Do you think Netflix will lose any portion of following that's of a significant nature because of Obama?
I'm going to say this really quick. I don't know why you would cut your subscription, not subscribing to something just based off of one show or one person, one show. I've never understood that at all. It's like ESPN, people saying they're going to cut the cord because of Jamel Hill or because of First Take. Really? Because of one show or one personality? How does that add up? If you love ESPN for the sporting events, so live sporting events is really what makes ESPN ESPN. Why would you cut the cord all of a sudden because of one person? You don't like that one person? Really? I don't get that, John, because people have said that too about ESPN becoming, we've talked about it before, becoming too liberal and left-sided.
Yes.
Okay, you're going to cut the cord and you can't watch, some great sporting events, though, because of that? Really? Because that one person offended you? Get over yourself and don't be so butthurt.
Well, no, it's a little bit more than that. And so to conceptualize why people cut the cord is that you now have stances being taken by a bunch of analysts because a lot of the shows were analyst-based and it went away from the sporting events, which were, okay, you got this football event, but an hour and a half before, you got 5 people bloviating about, standing up for the anthem. And a lot of them were basically told that they had to kind of discuss it in a way that made it seem like they were all in favor of the players and some of the analysts weren't. And so what some people were upset about was certain factions discussed that, the ESPN personalities were reaching out to entities who report on ESPN and saying, look, here's what's going on really on the inside, which is our message, which is it's not fair and balanced, which is there are people in this building at ESPN that do believe in right-sided thinking and that are conservative that want to speak up on it, but they were told not to. But those that spoke on the left side and had left-leaning tendencies were elevated and allowed to be highlighted. And so the reason why that upset people was ESPN basically is hushing people that have dissenting opinion than the corporate nature, which is something that is really offensive and things like that. And you could watch it and see it, that it became a one-sided outlook on when you have 6 panelists, 5 of the 6 would have the same opinion. And
So turn off the show.
That's what they
Don't
do.
watch the show.
Right.
Well, good, but why would you cut the cord
Right.
to
And
the
here's why.
station?
Here's why. Okay, Vito, when you look at it, I've now seen it in that I pay a lot for cable. I pay a lot for Dish Network and streaming services. Right now, in terms of what I pay for Dish, if I cut it out, I would save about $1,200 a year. And so you can get full entertainment with Hulu, Netflix, Amazon for $30 a month, as opposed to the $130 I'm paying for the Dish Network. Okay, so you look at it and you go, well, the reason why some of my rates on my cable are high is because ESPN has some big fees, and part of having cable involves having ESPN, which is forced down everybody's throat. So being that it's not a la carte, it's all encompassing. So if I got to have cable, I got to have ESPN. If I don't need it, and I got entertainment for $30 a month as opposed to $200, man, that's something that millions of Americans are recognizing. And you say, why? And it's something that you're going to come to keep understanding. It's called the marketplace. It's called capitalism, which is if you have a product that people like, they stick with it. If you have a product they don't like and they find something cheaper, they cut you out. And so what happened back 10 years ago, there were 95 to 100 million people that were stuck with ESPN. Something else came along. It's called competition. Better programming, nothing forced on you. You say, look, I want Hulu, it's $10 a month. I want Netflix, $20 a month. I'm entertained. I got the ability to watch things, and that's called the marketplace. And that's what makes this country great, is that if you didn't have that, then you know what ESPN would do? They'd be like, great, we're going to have a 24-hour left-leaning channel, and we're going to double the price, and you got to eat it and take it. And
Well, they wouldn't make it so left-leaning as people believe. That is the perception that has become of ESPN.
It's the reality.
But I really believe, though, if you're a conservative on ESPN and you're really good at your job, guess what? They will have you on there. Like, do we really know what Bob Lee is? What is Bob Lee and those individuals that have risen throughout the years now? They're oldies but goodies. But I'm saying if you're really good at your job and you really have good takes on the sport that you cover, guess what? You're going to be in a high-level position anyways, regardless of whether or not you're liberal or a right-winger. That's my point on things, too.
But many people also have the opinion, whether you agree or not, that I don't want to hear that at all. I don't care. I don't want to know.
Good. I don't need that either on ESPN.
Right.
I agree with that. But if they're giving a little bit of their opinion, mostly, by the way, it's on Twitter. Like, people made this big thing about SC6, SportsCenter at 6 with Jamel Hill and Michael Smith. Guess where everything was really found out about these guys and about their political viewpoints? On Twitter.
All right.
Don't follow them on Twitter. But you can watch SportsCenter. It's still sports. It's sports talk. It's highlights. Now, a lot of it was opinion-driven. Was much more than it used to be. And now, by the way, did you see what happened at SportsCenter at 6 o'clock?
What happened now?
Sage Steele and Kevin Nagandi. No politics. If you think they're going to be liberal or bring up a lot of political viewpoints, guess what?
Politics?
Not at all. But there wasn't. There really wasn't with Jamel and Michael Smith.
Okay.
It's just they were known for their political takes on Twitter. They were outspoken. Sage Steele and Kevin Nagandi don't have that reputation at all. So guess what? I don't think people will perceive that they will bring that to the table at 6 o'clock on SportsCenter. They won't.
Okay. So
it's changed. SportsCenter at 6 has changed, I guess, because of that notion that you've been mentioning, Doc.
In terms of cord cutting and ESPN, the politics plays a part, but in the end, it's the business model of ESPN that sucks, is that, they paid a lot of money for rights fees, and now
Monday Night Football most notably, and they're dying because of it.
Yeah, keep it simple in the model of they're paying a bunch of money out, and the money coming in was at a different level. It was higher 5 years ago, and now the money coming in is less and less and less. And so the business model is, if you want to understand it from a business perspective, in the past, ESPN was very profitable, so they saved up reserves in being a profitable business. So in the coming years, when they lose money, it's like a business let's say that you save up $100 billion, okay? And then in the next 5 years, you lose $5 billion a year for the next 10 years. Well, you still got $50 billion in the bank, but you're losing money. See, that's the model, is that ESPN has money. It has reserves. It has subsidies with Disney. It has funds. Okay, but what the problem is that at the end of years, at the end of calendar years in the last 3 or 4 years, what's gone out has been drastically more than what's come in, and that doesn't signal really good for a long-lasting business model. Something will change, which is, we got to lay off 100 people. We got to cut what's going out. We got to cut a lot of things. We got to make sure that we limit the spending to make sure that we don't go broke. And that's the nature of it, is that ESPN has to do a much better job on that front. But I don't think Netflix, because of the quality that they have, is going to lose a bunch of subscribers, but they will. They will lose some.
A couple, but not enough to hurt their bottom line. Not enough to hurt their bottom line, right?
And that's a good.
And we're talking
line.
business
Yes.
right now, sustainable business models.
Right.
ESPN has lost some people. Netflix will, but I don't think enough to really hurt their bottom line significantly.
Signing up Obama. But now if he comes in and does a supercharged political show where it's all left and it's just wild, making news, and it's all like preachy, and in that vein, if the content of his production company is really left and really anti-Trump and things like that.
But he wouldn't be. It's Trump that's making it anti-left. I mean, he's a guy that really has the opinions and the viewpoints and is calling out the left and going after the left. I don't think Obama wouldn't do that. A lot of politicians would not do that. Donald Trump has made it that way for the Republican Party.
Right. If Obama has like a panel show like CNN where it's all left-leaning and it's all this way, I think that might make a little bit of noise. That
it would look bad, but I don't think they would bash the right intentionally, like Trump and this current GOP for the most part would. That's on them, not on Obama and the Democrats.
It'll just be a way of Obama highlighting his point of view in his way. And I think it could be entertaining.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, once again, don't watch it. That's how I view it.
Don't watch it.
Because how much, how many other things do we watch on Netflix that we really get into? So why might I stop watching Netflix because of Obama being on there? Forget Obama. Who's Obama? I'm going to watch my favorite shows on Netflix still. That's how I view it.
Vito, talking to you makes me smarter. You know why? Bill O'Reilly. Sign him up. Have him on the same channel. Sign up Bill O'Reilly.
Should do it.
Let him do
Donald Trump one day once again. Or anybody. But give both sides, right, of the political argument, I guess. So if you do that, I think you're fine.
I think what we've shown is Two Bad Hombres can have civil discourse when you're obviously wrong all the time, and I'm always here preaching the good fight and showing you the path to success and satisfaction.
Or you're obviously wrong all the time. How I like to view it. But anyways.
I would still go with wear a suit, be right-thinking, be conservative, and work your butt off and avoid looking at politics too much, and you'll be pretty much a happy cat.
Well, I hope I end up being a happy camper. I would say right now I am as well, even though I'm left-leaning, at least a tad, and don't wear a suit.
Yeah, and I want to give you credit, because obviously I critique you quite a bit, but I do want to give you credit. I obviously am not a big, huge fan of shows with 4 people in it involved in a podcast, but I listened to the last week's Two Bad Hombres just to see kind of how I reacted to it. I really liked it. It was smooth flowing. You and your boys had a connection. They brought information. They were able to speak into the microphone. They obviously had been here before, so they knew the gist of it and how it went. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I listened to it, and I blinked. And the mark of a good show is, and I can be honest, some of them that you've been involved in, I've just been like, okay, give you a segment or two.
Subpar. Yeah. Forget you. I don't want to have you on or hear that stuff.
Or I do a little air check and go, okay, he's speaking pretty smooth. His editing is good. He's not inserting bad words just for fun to see if he can get away with it.
I couldn't. So I wouldn't do that to you, Doc.
I would do it once just to see it.
You would? Just to see if I was really listening?
Right.
I know some people would do that. I'm not going to do that and undermine you, Doc.
No, it's not a
because I would undermine the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. That's what I'm more worried about. I don't want to undermine the DSP network and make it look less credible.
But to your credit, you hosted a show that I typically wouldn't want to do in a great way. I loved it. I loved the show. It was great. Two Bad Hombres goes on. The network had a great week, and we'll continue on, man. Two Bad Hombres, rocking it every single Saturday as long as we can, as long as we got support. Thanks to our great sponsors. Thanks to everybody that downloads it, man. I appreciate it.
Many great sponsors, many great followers and fans, and we appreciate all of you out there. Thank you much, and adios.